Good morning, everyone. So, welcome again to our weekly PAASE webinar. So, this is the 24th lecture for this year, and we're talking about how to monitor fish diversity using artificial intelligence. Our speaker for today is a professor at the Department of Computer Science of the University of the Philippines, Diliman, and laboratory head of the Computer Vision and Machine Intelligence Group of the same department. He received his undergraduate and graduate degrees in electrical engineering from the University of the Philippines, Diliman, as well as a graduate degree in computer science at the Kyoto University, Japan. He did his postdoctoral studies at University Libre de Brussels, Belgium on swarm robotics, and his current research interests revolve around applications of deep learning, probabilistic machine learning, and decision making, robotics, and computation to problems in environment, healthcare, and education. So, without further ado, let's all welcome our speaker for today, Professor Pros Naval. Pros, are you ready?
Yes,
Okay.
Kay, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Kay, for that kind introduction. So good morning, everyone. So today I'm going to talk about how we could use artificial intelligence to monitor fish biodiversity in our oceans. So let me first start off this seminar by asking this question, what is biodiversity? So biodiversity is the variety of life forms, variety and variability of life forms from terrestrial, marine, and aquatic ecosystems. So for marine ecosystems, this variety shows itself in the wide differences between species and even within species, as well as the abundance of these species in the world's oceans and seas. Marine biodiversity is important for us for several reasons. The ocean itself is not only a source of food for us, it can also provide us medicine that can cure diseases like cancer and many others. In fact, in our Marine Science Institute, there have been lots of researches along this line of using, um, so for example, corn snail to as painkiller. So corn snail toxin, so-called chondrotoxins, which have been proven um, useful in treating Parkinson's disease, strokes, epilepsy, and so on. So, uh, just an example, there are about 33,000 known fish species and 2,500 known coral species in our oceans, and also in the world's oceans. So the actual figures are actually many times more. So the Coral Triangle region has long been recognized as the global center of marine biodiversity. The variety of species decreases westwards towards the Indian Ocean and also eastwards towards most of the Pacific. Now, within this triangle, we can find the most the most diverse fish and coral species in the entire planet. Now, within this coral triangle, the Philippines holds the distinction of having the most number of fish species per unit area. So our country sits right at the center of the coral triangle. We are at the heart of the world's most diverse marine ecosystem. For fish and other marine organisms, high biodiversity in their populations, confers protection against climate change, pollution, and other environmental and man-made stressors. Now, just to um, illustrate how diverse our marine ecosystem is, our Philippine marine ecosystem is, uh, a group of scientists from the California Academy of Sciences conducted an expedition not so many years ago. And in just 1 year of their expedition, they discovered more than 100 new marine species. And that's a lot. No? It's like one every 3 days um, of discovering new species. Now, unfortunately, there are threats, and there are numerous threats to biodiversity because of our human tendency to overexploit nature. For example, overfishing, dynamite fishing, human carelessness, they all endanger marine sustainability, which affect not only the balance of life in our ocean, but also the social and economic well-being of communities that depend on the sea for their livelihood. Now, our government has taken numerous steps to counteract these threats. There are several laws that regulate fishing and mandate sustainable management of our marine resources. So we have MPAs, or marine protected areas. These are no fishing zones where fish can breed and spill over to the surrounding areas. Now, once an MPA has been established, it is crucial to continuously monitor and evaluate the area to assess the effectiveness of this marine protected area. Just a case study was done in 1974 in Sumilon Island. This is the so-called Sumilon Island Marine Sanctuary. This is the first municipal marine sanctuary in the country. So in 1974, all fishing was stopped on a portion of the Sumilon Island Reef. So for 10 years. And during a span of 10 years, the living coral cover and fish abundance actually more than doubled. So the marine scientists actually measured the yearly catch outside the sanctuary. So this is not within the sanctuary, but outside the sanctuary. So the catch more than doubled from 14 metric tons per square kilometer to 36 metric tons per square kilometer. So this is an example of how important these marine protected areas are. No? So this the spillover effect is actually accepted by scientists nowadays. So it really does help in increasing the fish even outside the sanctuary. Um, so so how did the scientists get all these numbers? They actually conduct marine health monitoring. So the monitoring of a marine protected area is done through what is called a fish visual census. And this is done to determine the success of marine conservation and rehabilitation initiatives. So this census is done by a fish expert by fish experts swimming along a transect with the aid of a scuba gear. So the experts counts the fish within an area and estimates the fish sizes and identifies the different species as well. So, so they need this information to be able to compute for the biomass in metric tons per square kilometers, among many other fish parameters. So as I've said earlier, the government has done something to establish MPAs, and this MPAs actually monitored. In fact, the NIPAS Act requires the DNR to submit an annual report to the president of the country and to Congress on the status of protected areas in the country. However, this is not done regularly due to lack of expertise. When we say lack of expertise, there are uh, many experts. There are many marine scientists who can do fish visual census, but it's not enough. The number is not enough because there are actually uh, 1,800 marine protected areas that need to be monitored every year. So marine scientists look for species like all these nice looking fishes and many others, of course. So these are the so-called indicator species. They called so because they actually indicate coral resilience. So when you see all these nice fishes in a marine ecosystem, that means that the coral, the ecosystem is doing well. And we're also interested in monitoring, counting the target fish species for commercial reasons. So these are the fishes that are sold in the market for food. Now, the manual method of conducting fish visual census suffers from uh, biases, and limitations, that tend to overestimate or underestimate reef fish assessments. For example, when a diver is present in an area, obviously the fish uh, they actually get agitated or they swim away. So that somehow, by the very presence of the diver, uh, the counts are already skewed in number. No? So the fishes, either some species are attracted to the diver, so the count is increased for that species, while many others actually the number goes down because they are obviously afraid of the diver generating bubbles, especially. And there's also that limitation of diver fatigue and diver skill in accurately counting and identifying fish. So remember that the fishes are all moving, and it's hard to actually count the fish per per unit volume. So a fish expert would imagine a a unit volume, or more concretely a 5 by 5 by 5 meter unit volume in front of him or in front of her. And all the fishes that are inside that volume, that 5 by 5 by 5 unit volume, or equivalently 5 by 5 area, will be counted. Those that are outside that would not be included in the count. So that itself is already challenging. It already requires a very high level of expertise. So uh, on above the surface of water, 5 meters, five by five is easier to imagine, but underwater, everything is closer by 30%. So that actually requires a lot of practice. And then there's also a limited or no visual record of the actual census. So the divers busy writing the values, the species, the names of the different species on on the slate, um, and also remember that there are many species. Now there are in the Philippines there are close to 3,000 species of fish, and therefore the fish expert must memorize all these names. The names are all in in Greek and Latin, and not only they have to remember the names, they also have to identify on site the species of a particular fish. So that's very challenging, and that requires very high level of expertise. Um, and the fish expert must count very fast. And then also there's the limitation of uh, having to stay underwater, for a limited time. So you cannot conduct surveys for extended periods of time for obvious reasons. Um, so that's these are the challenges that a fish expert would actually encounter. So uh, having to stay underwater for a limited period of time, counting moving fishes, while of course monitoring all the instruments for safety. Now, so the conventional protocol for measuring these environmental indicators actually involves two scuba divers or fish experts who can identify on site any of the thousands of species of fish in order to do a fish survey. So as you know, prolonged stay underwater gives rise to human fatigue, and it also compromises safety. Furthermore, there are not so many fish experts. At least it's not enough. No? So the number is not enough for all these fish experts to do the monitoring of the 1,800 marine protected areas in the country. So that's the problem that we have right now. There are very few fish experts, and there's what we call the data collection bottleneck. To collect the data, you need these experts who also will analyze the data. What we are proposing is a semi-automated fish visual census, which we have actually uh, called the fish eye. So this semi-automated fish visual census, you don't need a high level of expertise. Any regular licensed open water diver, and there are thousands of them in the country, can actually do a fish eye semi-automated fish visual census. So anyone, even without any knowledge of fish, as long as the diver is able to follow instructions, the the census can be done. So this is something that's very scalable. You don't need to depend on experts. Well, you don't need to depend on experts to collect the data. So the experts are probably better off, analyzing data and giving advice to communities on what to do. So again, fisheye is a semi-automated fish visual census protocol that allows any scuba diver, any licensed scuba diver without any specialized knowledge of fish to conduct a fish survey in a short period of time. So again, it is possible and it is feasible to conduct fish surveys in all the 1,800 sites, 1,800 marine protected areas in the country. Um, what we are proposing is a do-it-yourself, so to speak, fish census. So since practically anyone who can do it, any regular diver can do it. So fish eyes is named so because we combine fish and AI. So it's it's fish eye. That's the origin of the name. Fish plus AI, and AI here uses at the moment deep learning. Um, so the main features of fish eyes that there's the accuracy in collecting the data. And then the image analysis is powered by artificial intelligence. And the information that is collected is stored in the cloud for later analysis. So it's going to be there for years. So it won't get lost because it's stored in the cloud. The information about a particular site is stored in the cloud. Now, so I'd like to emphasize again that there's no specialized knowledge of fish needed in order to do a high quality survey. So this is a picture of my student. Uh, she's actually at the time an MS, Masters in Computer Science student with practically no knowledge of fish taxonomy. Um, and of course, myself, we're both of us know nothing about fish taxonomy, and we are conducting a fish survey. We are here calibrating our, at that time, makeshift camera rig in preparation for taking fish videos along a transit line. um, so fish eye can do the following measurements. Can identify, first of all, the species of the different fishes seen by the cameras. It can count the fishes, and it can also measure the size and length, well, size of the fish, of the individual fishes, as well as the biomass of the fish, meaning how many grams the fishes weigh. And also, it can measure the density of fish in area. Um, so all this site-specific information will be stored in a cloud for monitoring and assessment purposes. Um, now, I'm supposed to talk about artificial intelligence, so let's talk about it a little bit. So in recent years, a branch of AI called machine learning, and more specifically, deep learning, have made great giant strides, than well, far larger than initially imagined. So, what is deep learning? Deep learning is a family of algorithms that mimic the human brain. So, deep learning algorithms are an improvement over their early and shallower versions called artificial neural networks. So, deep learning is basically uh, neural networks 2.0. So, you have lots of neurons, thousands of neurons, and these algorithms are capable of learning from data, in this case from fish visual data, and well, produce programs that are beginning to rival humans in their ability to recognize pictures, translate from one language to another, and many other tasks. So that's deep learning. Now, this is the deep learning components of fish eye. So you have actually several uh, deep learning modules here. Um, okay, I won't talk about this much because it's actually a bit complicated to explain. Um, so suffice it to say that fisheye actually uses deep learning in many of its modules, and we continually to improve the technology using the latest deep learning algorithms. So fish eye can recognize a species of fish. Uh, at the moment, it can recognize 517 species out of the 3,000 species of fish found in the Philippines. And you might ask, why only 517? What about the remaining, 2,500 more? Can't you identify this species as well? Well, the answer is we actually need training data to accurately classify fish species, to identify them properly. But there are many of the fish species are not usually seen. So we have not visited enough sites, although we have visited more than 50 sites in the country. Um, we need more data to be able to classify the remaining 2,500 species. However, it's just a matter of time before we can actually do it, since the algorithm actually learns from whatever data is ingested by the algorithm. So our algorithms are actually robust against illumination changes. Um, we didn't realize that it's really very difficult to process underwater images. We thought that okay, what works on the surface above the water will actually work underwater, and we were mistaken. And we spent a lot of time and effort developing our own algorithms, modifying those deep learning modules that are available out there for our problem for fish identification. So fish videos are very challenging because there are big illumination changes underwater happening within 1 second, sub-second. So there's what you call lensing effect, especially at shallower depths. So at depths of about 5 meters, So there's lensing and this lensing effect, and this lensing effect actually confuses traditional machine learning algorithms. But we've been able to solve this problem already for fisheye. Now, our algorithms are also robust against spectral absorption effects. So, what is this effect? As we know, light with longer wavelengths are strongly absorbed by ocean water. So, the colors of the rainbow, starting with red, followed by orange, then yellow, and so on, they start to disappear with increasing depth. So this basically means that what appears, say, yellowish at greater depths will no longer appear yellow. And this is very challenging because, as we know, to identify fish, you depend on color a lot. So your algorithm has to take into account as well this spectral absorption effect. So our fisheye technology basically consists of a data capture device. So it's a rig with um, four sets of stereo cameras looking at the four different directions: north, south, east, west, or, well, you can change the orientation, of course, but you can image forward, backward, to the right, and to the left, all at once, simultaneously. And you need stereo cameras to be able to measure the sizes of fishes. So we have a fish eye data analyzer, uh, which actually processes, ingests the data, and produces the following results. So the fish ID, fish count, fish size, and other information as well. So fish eye is safer, is faster, and cheaper, and highly scalable. And with this, we can actually do more frequent census. Now here's fish eye in action. So it's the software is identifying the different species of fish, as well as measuring their sizes and masses. So the software also knows the distance, the coordinates, the actual coordinates of the different fishes, which is important for us to, um, which is important for calculating the fish density. So here we have the total biomass seen so far. So um, yeah, this is a big number. It's unusual. So far, it has seen 11 species, and among them, there are five indicator species, which basically tells us that this area here is good, um, is biodiverse, and is resilient. You know? So these are the information that you will see. So the fish eye can identify the species, the length, weight, and measure the density. And then we have here also the metadata, where it was taken, temperature, depth, and so on. And so all this information will be stored in the cloud. So this is your cloud-based information system. So the the fish videos and process information are geotagged, and they are all stored there for researchers and marine protected area administrators to analyze later on, so they can do comparisons between sites. They can do comparisons and analyze time series data. So, okay, so for example, well, we have here a plot of the uh, okay, two sites, no? Inside an MPA and outside the MPA. So you can see that there's of course a difference, and you can measure the difference. Um, and this is okay at this particular on this particular date. So all this information are actually stored there for later analysis. There's also a permanent visual record in the cloud. So this information is stored there, and this is you know that this is how the coral reef looked like 4 years ago. So if there's an increase in the number of fishes, that can be documented, and all this actually available for everyone, for all those who have access to see. So 10 years from now, you still should be able to access this information. Then it's the software system can actually assist decision makers in answering questions like uh, is it time to fish at this particular time? So if your data, for example, is the following, then it tells you a lot. No? So on the board vertical are the different fish types obtained from a biodiversity survey, and the horizontal axis is the percentage of the maximum fish length for the different fish classes. So this graph here shows us that most of the fishes are not yet mature. So the jacks are just 62% of their maximum length on average. So all this information are crucial for well, informing LGUs on whether to fish or not fish at this particular time, for example. So it's not advisable to fish because if you catch the fishes, then you'd probably be catching the juveniles, and you won't have um, potential parents for the next generation of fish for that particular fish group. You can also compare the number of fishes over time at the particular site. So is it really increasing, decreasing? And this will tell us how effective the marine protected area um, initiative or rehabilitation effort is doing. So you also can measure the number of tons of fish per square kilometer, so biomass, broken down according to indicator biomass, target biomass. We have tested the fish eye in more than 50 sites in the country, including Tubataha. So in Tubataha alone, we have data for 14 sites within Tubataha. And we've had trial surveys in Hawaii, care of our collaborator from University of Hawaii. So when do we use, or when can we use a fish eye? So these are the use cases, comparison of marine protected area versus non-marine protected areas, inside or outside, or inside versus outside MPAs. Then you can also use the technology for doing baseline studies for EIA, environmental impact assessment of industrial plants, for example, and others as well, for assessment of post-disaster recovery. So, like ship grounding, rather, ship grounding, oil spills. So, obviously, uh, these will change the number of species, the counts, and so on. So, but how do you objectively assess whether the area has fully recovered or partially recovered from an oil spill or from a ship grounding accident? You can also use this for valuation of fisheries and marine resources, assessment of fisheries, of mangroves, and for doing a fish inventory for ecotourism purposes. So Fish Eye is actually developed by myself and Dr. Laura David of the Marine Science Institute. So we work together in conceptualizing Fish Eye, and actually we now have a spin-off, a university spin-off called Fish Eye Analytics. So if you're interested in having a survey, we can do it for you. We can train you how to conduct a fish visual survey in your community. So, of course, there are many other researchers involved in our Fish Eye project, which was actually funded by the UST, Fishered, and the UST TAPI. Okay, thank you very much for your attention.
Okay, thank you very much for that, Pros. It was a very interesting presentation. And yeah, so I'd like to invite our audience to please type any questions or comments that you might have for the presentation. Okay, so we have a first question from Vic Ilag. So it's very impressive. Have you considered using fish eye for tuna ranching?
For tuna ranch,
Ranching.
um, yeah, I think, yeah, fish eyes was primarily developed for reef fish, but it can actually handle tuna with a little bit of modification. The way we capture fish images is that we have a camera rig that is placed on the seafloor. However, for tuna, since it's constantly moving around and it's not, it's not near the seafloor, we can have an ROV. In fact, we have an ROV. We have ROVs actually collecting data. Um, Unfortunately, during this pandemic, we've not been able to go out to further make tests. But yeah, an ROV is a data capture, one possible data capture modality. Yeah, we are ready for that. Yes, the answer is yes. We can do that for tuna ranching.
Okay, sorry, just to maybe just add on to that question. So, if it will be used eventually for tuna ranching, so what kind of modifications should be done in the current model that you have?
As far as the software is concerned, there's hardly any modification that we need to process tuna data. In fact, it's easier because you're going to deal only with just a few species of tuna. Um, so as long as the ROV cameras can capture the images we can actually measure the sizes of the tuna, and therefore, since we know the size, we can approximately measure the weight of each one of them. Then I think it's going to be very useful for commercial purposes. So, is it time to harvest this tuna or not? And that sort of thing can be answered using fish eye, I think.
Okay, great. There was a follow up from Vic. So he's asking if you haven't been approached by tuna ranchers yet.
Actually, yes, we've been approached. Uh, yeah, we've been approached, but they probably wouldn't want us to disclose who they are at the moment. Yeah, we've been
So
approached.
is it an ongoing negotiation? Yeah.
So
All right. Okay, I'll take one question first from the YouTube channel. It comes from Angeline Dow. So congratulations, Pros. Is there something like a fish eye citizen that involves normal citizens to monitor on and protect marine biodiversity, like making it live and allow the citizens to do the tagging?
oh yeah, that's an interesting concept. Um, it can be done by they could be the fish eye could be the collection, the data collection could be citizen science here. So any ordinary citizen with the right equipment can actually conduct a survey. Yes, it's possible. It's possible to organize a group doing that regularly, and it's an interesting idea. So yes, very possible, and of course that requires a little bit more organization. Yeah, there's no obstacle for doing that. Yeah.
Yeah, that is quite interesting. And I suppose you'll be able to gather more data if a
Correct.
lot of people will be empowered to actually do the tagging.
Yes, and they own the data. So the nice thing about Fisha is that you get the data, you own the data. We'll give you back the results, and we will not share the results with anyone without your permission. So it's yours. Yeah, it's like some kind of data privacy act for fishes also.
Oh, okay. Interesting. Okay, so the next one comes from Roland Geronimo. So he's been following your work and they're very promising. Can the fish eye be used also for identifying fish out of water? For example, caught fish in landing centers or market. It could be particularly useful for LGUs and even private individuals to help them with fish catch monitoring, even if they don't have the same expertise of NGAs like BIFAR or NFRDI.
Yes, we have actually we have the software already. In fact, this was done 3 years ago. You can use an ordinary cell phone to capture fish, the species, so the fishes that are being sold, and identify them, and even measure the size of the species. So we have a project like that. This was done by some undergraduate students. Yeah, and also we are having talks with a company outside the country, in New Zealand particularly, and their interest is to actually look at, let the fish eye analyze the catch from cameras mounted on the ship, so the fishing boats. So that's the project. Yeah, it can definitely identify fish and measure their sizes above water. It's easier, in fact, it's easier. So yeah.
Okay, thank you for that. The next one comes from Edsel Peña. So, great talk. In terms of uncertainty quantification regarding the inference that you could make, for example, if you are estimating the number of a certain type of fish or the mean or median, how do you perform this from the data obtained through fisheye?
We of course we calibrate the cameras. We've made tests on the accuracy of the length of the fish size calculation. At a distance of 1 meter, meaning the object or the fish is 1 meter away from the camera, and this is underwater, the accuracy could be as high as 1 millimeter. And I myself was very surprised at this. Now imagine, uh, uh, you know, uh, measuring the size of an object down to millimeter level. Of course, you have to take into account the fact that the fish is moving, and when you have a moving object, there's what you call image blur. So now you don't know where is the exact boundary of the fish. So, but then for marine scientists, plus minus 10% is already acceptable. So yeah, so that's now that's regarding the length of the fish and therefore the biomass. Regarding the accuracy of fish identification, for we're hitting 97% accuracy of fish identification.
Okay.
So
Yeah, okay, good. Thanks. Thanks for that. So just another comment from Roland. So together with an AI fish ID system and a model for converting volume to weight, this could be a powerful tool for LGUs to monitor how much fish and what types they are actually getting. So it can also be useful in identifying rare and new species from markets. Okay, and then Giselle has a question. So, major fisheries in the country, like sardines, milkfish, shrimps, prawns, and any aquaculture applications. Have you used this for such aquaculture applications?
um, so at the moment, it's the software is specialized for fish. No, for shrimp, we need to modify it a little bit to process the shrimp data. Um, for aquaculture, yeah, as long as it's fish, we are okay, I think. So in fact, we're having talks with some uh, companies who are interested in using fish eye for monitoring or for actually determining the correlation between their feeds, the amount of feeds that they give to the fishes and the size. So are they spending a lot for feeds that are not really taken by the fish? That sort of question can be answered, not really directly, but that could provide useful information for uh, to be able to answer that question properly.
Okay, thank you. So another one from Vic Ilag. So he noted that the patent has been filed. So when was this filed, and what is the current status, and in what jurisdictions?
Okay, so we filed the patent in December of 2016. So filed patents in other countries. In the US, we filed it last year, I think. Yeah. So and in Brazil, Mexico, Indonesia. So these are the countries where we filed patents. We're still waiting for the results actually.
Okay, thank you for that, Pros. I have a question. So at the moment, the device, like how deep can you use it? Like at the moment.
Um, depth really is not a limitation
Okay.
for the device itself because it is just an ordinary. Well, it's a camera rig
Mm-hmm.
plus GoPro cameras. We can replace the cameras with the Sony cameras if you wish. But the main limitation is at the moment the diver. So
Mm-hmm.
divers typically can only dive up to 30 meters.
I see.
Um, but most of the interesting surveys are done at less than 20 meters, around maybe 15 meters. 5 to 15 meters. So that's very well within the limit for an open water diver. So yeah,
Okay.
that is not really a serious limitation.
Okay. That's good to know. So what's next? Like what's next for fisheye?
ROV version.
Oh, okay, okay. Very interesting. Okay, so another one from Edsel. Okay, here's a crazy idea. Could you develop a robot fish that could swim with the other fish and gather data? There could be advantages to a data gathering system which is moving with the school of fish. What do you think?
Yeah, yeah, that's a very interesting um, proposal. Uh, Actually, that idea has been implemented, but not exactly the same idea. But a robot fish
Mhm.
swimming, has been implemented in, I think, Spain, where the robot fish swam around to collect information about pollution in an area. So, what is the chemical profile of this bay, for example? So, there's a fish that's going around and measuring the chemical content, oxygen, the chemical, all different parameters. Um, and these are geotagged, so it knows the coordinates, and of course the depth. So yeah, at the moment, um, we don't have plans yet for for that, but it's a very interesting and very good proposal, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, for that particular proposal, what do you think would be the challenges for developing this robotic fish to gather data?
Um, Funding, I think, is the well. Besides that, I think we have enough engineers and marine scientists who can actually make a fish robot. Yeah. Um, so
Hi. Okay, you can also ask Elon Musk to fund it. Edsel suggesting.
ah, I don't
He might be interested,
Yeah, yeah, actually.
because
if you said
that will be an application of the technology that we're developing, I think.
that, yeah. If you can help us connect to yeah.
Maybe Edsel can, can put in a word for you.
So,
Okay, another follow-up question from Giselle. How about tagging fish to follow and understand life cycle and development?
Oh, okay. It's probably best answered by a marine scientist.
Okay.
Yeah, I think tagging fish. So, okay, so if you tag fish, I think the best is to, yeah, I think it's possible, but for fish eye, well, fish eye is not adapted for that. Yeah, we have to develop another technology for maybe putting a tag on the fish and let it move from place to place. Yeah, yeah, I think that's possible, but not at the moment for fish eye. It's interesting also, very interesting. Tagging, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much, Pros. A very interesting talk. Do you have any final words for our audience before we close the session? I think we've exhausted all of the questions.
Uh, well, um, well, fish eye is actually just very new. It just spun off just last year, December last year. So we thought that we could, start going full blast this year, but unfortunately, because of the current pandemic, we could not even um, do surveys. We're not allowed to visit the different sites. So, but once the pandemic is over, I think we can go back. And if you want your sites surveyed, then just contact us at this email address. Um, and thank you very much, also, Kay, for allowing me to talk about fish eye and basically biodiversity using AI in this webinar.
Yeah, thank you also for having the time to lecture for PAASE webinars. Um, okay, before we close, I just want to promote our next speaker. Okay, let me just share my screen. Okay. Okay. So next week, October 23, our speaker will be Professor Seville de Terra Wadley. So she was actually one of the recipients of the Severino Pasco Lectureship Award from PAASE way back in 2017. So she will talk about induced pluripotent stem cells, disease and tissue modeling, gene editing, cell therapy, toxicology, and drug candidate screening. So if you're interested to join us next week, please don't forget to register at bit.ly sdwadley. So again, it will be on Friday at 8 o'clock in the morning. So you can find PAASE at our website at paase.org, and our recordings of the different webinars are uploaded in PAASE Webinars YouTube channel, which is at bit.ly/PAASE Webinars. So I guess that's it for us today. Pros, can you also send me a copy of your presentation so that if it's okay to share with our audience?
Okay. Thank you very much, everyone, for listening.
So thank you, everyone. Have a good day ahead. Good evening for those of you who are in the US. So hope to see you next week. Thank you, guys.
Bye.